What's up, bitches?
Let's talk about crime.
What's up, bitches?
Hello.
We're here. Hanging. Chilling. Doing the damn thing. We were just talking about the TikTok viral everything, the documentary. I think it's called The Crash, and it's about a girl who got into a car accident, killed the people in her car. I believe she's in jail actually for killing 4 people. So I haven't watched the documentary yet, but we were just talking about that before we started. And so it was just an interesting, I haven't watched it yet, so I can't give you my personal ideas. But what I will tell you is I will not be doing any episodes on that girl or the crash or any of that kind of stuff because, in my opinion, one, it's too popular. Too much is going on. Too many different stories and too many different sides. And number 2, I actually touched on this on Fatal Blend as well. I do my research based on research. I will always have at any time anywhere from 8 to 10, sometimes 15, depending on what I can find, resources. And I read through the resources. I find the similarities. I talk about them. Documentaries is one of the things that I do watch. But I take everything that I see in a documentary with a grain of salt. So I will take it and then I will research it myself to see what matches the documentary and what does not, because a documentary is not factual. There are facts in it, but there's also things that are twisted and manipulated to make you feel a certain way. Because again, a documentary is out there to make money, and it is out there to get across a point or a message. So they got to manipulate things. So whatever the point of the documentary is, that's what they're going to push. So I always do extra research on top of the documentary. So that's why I will not be doing her. But if anybody has seen The Crash, tell us what you think. You can hit us up on our socials and you can let me know what you think. I know a lot of people think that she's a murderer. That's all I know, is that people think she did it on purpose. That's the only thing I can figure out. So I will be watching it at some point. And Netflix has so many damn documentaries. It's really hard it's hard for me to pick a documentary to watch because I really like, there's ones where it's like, I Am a Killer. That's literally what it's called. I Am a Killer. I love those ones because they interview people in prison, learn their story, interview people, tell about the background. But even those, because I've actually picked some of our cases from the I Am a Killer episodes, but I have never once used that as my only resource. And I'm glad I haven't, because when I do the research, I always find pieces that I'm like, oh, well, that's not really quite how that happened. Or, oh, they totally missed this whole chunk that's actually really important to the story. The more you know, but that's here nor there. This week, we're going to be talking about something I don't think we've ever talked about. It's not a murder. It's not a murder. Sierra's probably like, fucking Jesus. It's not a murder. It is not something fun to talk about. It's not embezzling or anything like that. I'll just get into it. We are literally going to be talking about the year 1978 to 1981. So it's like a time frame. And this is in Spokane, Washington. And this is when a serial rapist is terrorizing the South Hill area of Spokane, Washington. Now, Kevin Coe is the man, and he is eventually caught. But that's what we are talking about today. So before we get any farther, I do not go into detail in any way, shape, or form of the rapes. However, if you do not feel comfortable listening to us talk about rape or anything along the lines of sexual assault, skip this episode, because that is literally all this is about. That nobody is murdered. It's literally about a serial rapist. So if you are not comfortable with it, no problem. I have no issues with that. Sierra has no issues with that. And we'll catch you next week when we're talking about hopefully something spooky. I haven't picked it yet, but I'm pretty sure next week I'm going to do a spooky. Or
I just sent you an unsolved one.
I know. I'm tossed between a spooky or an unsolved, but like a more fun unsolved. Because this one is this episode is shitty, but it's not like, oh, I need a brain break from it. So I could do something a little rougher, but I also really like having the more fun breaks in between. I like to try to break it up a little, but I'll be looking at the ones you sent me. I look at all, dude, I have them written down in my phone. Every time I find one that I like that you sent, I'm like, clocked it. Like, so then I just open
the
it.
Murdaugh ones.
Oh my God, the Murdaugh trial. Okay. You just open up a whole ass can of worms. I'm going to say one thing. You want to talk about fucking documentaries?
We did watch that documentary.
Okay, so this is exactly why. Right here. This is a great example.
Didn't they come out with a new season on that documentary?
They did.
I don't think I watched that.
So there you go. That's a perfect example. So everybody watches this documentary, and the first thing they all say is, "Oh my God, he's guilty." First of all, the reason that his murder conviction has been overturned. If you did not know, surprise, his murder conviction was overturned. It is because one of the court reporters wrote a fucking book, which is totally against the law. So they were able to fight it. It overturned. Now, what that means is that he gets a retrial. He's not free to go. And also, by the way, he's in jail for like 40 years for money laundering or embezzlement or tax evasion or some shit. So he wouldn't be getting out anyways right now. However, I'm going to say this one fucking time. I don't actually think he killed his wife and his son. I think his son killed his wife and his son. Sierra and I talked about it after watching that documentary. We were like, wait a minute, this is real sketchy and weird. Okay, so there's things like that. I think, and I don't even know if it was 100% on purpose. I don't know that. What I know is I do not think that he killed them. I think his son did. And I think because he's a lawyer and he has money, I think he thought that he could get out of it easier than his son. Because his son, for anybody who has never known, his son already is suspected of killing somebody because he hit him with a fucking car. Okay, and his other son, the one that died, killed somebody on a boat, on accident, totally on accident, was being reckless. So the family in itself, they have a tendency to do bad things. And then the father was always the father and the grandfather were the ones that always stepped in to make sure their sons did not take the fall. I believe with my heart that is what happened. And I do not think that he is guilty. I think his son is. But I think we'll never know because I don't think he'll let his son go to jail for it. So you want to talk about documentaries? Maybe that was the point of their documentary, but I have not done the other research. But you're right. That is one that I should deep dive into because I've watched the documentary, but I haven't done my own research. And I need to do my own research so I can make my own
Well, and I know they're going through that stuff right now, but like we could always do a
episode
later that's like, oh.
No, I would be actually okay. Although that may be a bit of a bigger bigger episode because there's a lot that goes in. There's a lot of history that you got to touch on before you can get into the murders. Cool. No, it's not going to be too terrible. It's very interesting and very weird. So anyways, yeah, maybe that is one. If not, it'll be coming.
It's on the list.
It'll be on the list. I'm going to definitely put it on my list. But anyways, back to that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the Murdaugh. We're talking about Kevin Coe.
Spokane.
Yes. Now, Kevin Coe was born Frederick Harlan Coe. So he was not actually named Kevin. He changed his name in 1982. But for all intents and purposes, we're just going to call him Kevin because that was literally the name that he changed it to in 82. And we're just going to go there. So Kevin was born Frederick Harlan Coe on February 2nd, 1947. It is said that he grew up in a prominent family. His father was the managing editor for the Spokane Chronicle, which was like a newspaper at the time. And they were pretty wealthy, I think. Now, not really much could be found out about his childhood. And honestly, I can't help but wonder if some of this is because his father was involved with the media. Like his whole life. Like maybe his father was able to block some information that could have been put out there about his son, especially after his son gets caught. Maybe his father was able to kind of pull some strings to get Kevin Coe's history erased from us to be able to know as not social, but as media. Now, Kevin does get married in 1972, but something happens in his marriage. I do not know what it is. I don't know if they get divorced. I don't know if the woman dies, but in the list of chronological things that went on in his life, it said he was married in 1972, but then it also shows that he gets married again in 1986. So somewhere there was but it doesn't show a divorce. Whereas with his 1986 marriage, it shows that they got divorced in 1988. So I don't know if there's just no divorce on file and nobody could find it or whatever. But again, chronological, he got married once in 1972. He gets married a second time in 1986, but then gets divorced in 1988. Now, from the years 1978 to 1981, Kevin Coe commits multiple rapes. And yes, you heard me right. He got married in 1986, but he got caught in 1981. So you do the math on the fact that somebody married his ass while he was in jail and then divorced him 2 years later. I don't know why. Now, this begins in late 1978. Many of these rapes involved an extreme level of physical injury to the victims. All of the rapes had what was deemed to be a distinctive signature, which was the perpetrator would take a gloved fist or gloved fingers and ram them into the throat or the mouth of the victims while raping them. So all of the women who had come forward, because again, this is not murders. These are women who have raped. When they would come forward, that's their descriptor of him. They didn't see his face. They didn't know who he was. But all of these women, that's how they knew for sure it was the same person. And that's how they knew that they were dealing with a serial rapist. Now, police were pretty sure, after talking to these women, that the offender was one singular person. And not too long after multiple rapes had already happened, the offender was then dubbed the South Hill Rapist. And if you don't know, the South Hill is an area in Spokane, Washington. It's a neighborhood in the area of Spokane, Washington. So the city is Spokane, Washington, but the area is South Hill. I personally can only imagine the fear that they had in that area because it's not a large area, especially in the 80s. It wasn't like, it's probably much bigger now, but back in the 80s, it just wasn't a ginormous place. It's not like 30,000 people type situation. So I can only imagine the fear that women had living in the South Hill, knowing that there's a man out there that is raping women with, by the way, no MO. Like they couldn't look at you and be like, prostitute, stay inside. Because fun fact, we'll never talk about it on this podcast, but Spokane did have a serial killer. And even more fun fact, he was one of my neighbor's friends. There was a serial killer that had been targeting prostitutes in Spokane. And so they were able to come out and say, if you're a prostitute and you frequent the street Sprague, stay off of Sprague because we are finding a lot of dead prostitutes. We're pretty sure we have a serial killer. Well, in this scenario with Kevin Coe, they did not have rhyme, reason, or area other than the South Hill area. So all they could do is basically say, if you're a woman on the South Hill, use the buddy system. Don't go outside by yourself. Steer clear of dark nights. If you're leaving work or getting off the bus or, be with somebody at all times and be super vigilant. So I can only imagine what the fear was. Like the women were told, don't go out alone. Don't go for walks. Don't go for jogs. Don't even ride the bus. To be fair, I was told not to ride the bus my entire life. No matter what city I've ever lived in, my mom always said, we're not riding the bus. It's never a place. Because listen, my husband rode the bus his entire motherfucking life. Public bus to and from school and shit. I didn't grow up like that. My mom drove me or I rode the school bus. And then when I was in high school, instead of taking public transportation, I walked everywhere. Because that's so much fucking safer. But apparently we thought it was. So I think public transportation is not unsafe. I think you gotta just know what to do when you're on the public transit. Don't talk to strangers. Mind your fucking business, but be vigilant. That's how I feel. Yeah, they basically said don't do any of those things. And then women, actually, because of this situation, they start to arm themselves. They start to buy things like mace from stores. They start to take self-defense classes to the point where the entire South Hill was sold out of mace. There came a point where there was no mace to be found in the entire South Hill. And a large majority of the area of Spokane did not have mace because of how many women had been buying the mace. That's how scared they were. To be fair, I would be doing the same thing because these women can't just stop their lives. They have jobs. They have, some go to school, some have jobs. Like you can't just not ever go out of your house again. So you do what you need to do, right? So that's what these women did. Now, it is believed to this day that Kevin is responsible for about 30 to 40 rapes in the South Hill area, and he would target young teenagers all the way up to young women. Now, Kevin would also find the women, and when he did, he would threaten to kill them if they went to the police. He would beat them to the point where they thought they were going to die. And most of the women that he raped did not have the ability to describe him because they were unable to get a good look at his face. That is until he attacked 27-year-old Julia Harmia. Now, she had been on her way home from work, She had gotten off the bus. She was fairly new to the area. She knew about the serial rapist. She knew to be vigilant. She knew to be careful. But she had a fucking job. Like, she had to go do shit. So she gets off the bus, and as she's walking towards her home, she sees this man who like jogs past her. And then she sees him hide, like duck and hide behind a car in front of her. And so originally she thinks, well, this is really weird. Like, why would somebody do that? And then she goes, oh, maybe he's hanging out with like a friend and he's like hiding and then he's going to jump out and scare him.
No, that's not what I'd be thinking.
Me neither. I'd be like, yeah,
First I'd be like, fire, 911.
I'd be like, I'm not walking down there.
There were no cell phones back then, but I would have fucking gone to somebody's house, or I would have straight called him out.
Yeah,
like,
well,
honestly,
I think she was mentally preparing herself, so subconsciously, like,
I would have said switch.
She didn't, but see, all the stores were out of mace, so she didn't have mace. All the stores were out of mace. She didn't have the ability to protect herself the way that she would have wanted to, and so the good news was she was vigilant enough to fucking recognize that this is weird behavior. Truthfully, I mean, to be fair, back in the 80s. I mean, my dad used to do shit like that all the time. He used to like run up ahead of us and then hide and then jump out and scare. Like, my dad would do that, but my dad's not Kevin Coe. Okay. Kevin Coe, he was weird and he was doing this because he was going to fucking attack her, but she didn't know. So she really did innocently thought maybe he's just going to jump out and scare a friend. Like, okay. So she keeps going and she walks past him and he doesn't jump out at her. Okay, so she's like, cool. She walks past him, and a few moments later, he grabs her from behind and drags her into a lot. He then proceeds to beat her and rape her. And then after he rapes her, he tells her to lay on the ground and count to 50. And if she gets up before that, he's going to come back and kill her. Now, Julie, however, could not protect herself with mace or anything like that because she didn't have it. But she was goddamn determined to get a look at his face and remember who the fuck he was. She had actually said, I remembered every detail I could about him because I did not want him to do this to anybody else. So she just studied him. She studied every part of him that she could. She is then able, after she gets up, she calls the police and she tells them, I was just raped. I have a description. I want to give it to you. So she gives them a good enough description that they actually can create a sketch of him. They were able to tell that he was a white male, 5'11", 170 pounds with brown wavy hair. She also tells the detectives the thing is, not only can she tell them what he looks like, but she remembers his voice. She says, the reason I remember his voice is because it's a very well-bred voice and very educated. It literally sounds like a radio announcer. His voice does. So I know his voice. If I hear his voice, I will be able to tell you. So after Kevin rapes her, he is able to go on and rape at least 6 other women because they don't know who he is, but they can at least get something out there of if this guy looks familiar. Then there's another break in the case. There's a woman who is raped in the middle of the day at a track, at a school. And now police at this time felt that he was getting careless by this point. Maybe he's overconfident because he hasn't been caught yet. And during this time, during the middle of the day, there's a custodian who ends up coming forward to the police and says, so here's the thing that's strange. The day that this happened, I was at the school and I noticed that there was a car that was parked in the school bus drop-off zone during the exact time that you're saying this rape occurred. So the police are like, okay, can you give me a description of the car? Like, do you know? And he's like, oh, yeah, of course. So they're able to get a description of the car. And to be honest with you, I actually think that the custodian, they didn't say this, but I think he wrote the license plate down because they are able to trace the car. So the only way you're tracing the car is if you have a fucking license
or unless
plate.
Your car is like the only one in Spokane.
Right? So I'm assuming
Spokane wasn't that big back then.
But big enough that it's not. That's big enough
to unless they narrowed it down to the South Hill. You said
no,
South
because
Hill wasn't
even
probably that big.
No, but even that, you're not there. It's not that small. It's just not that small. So what I think they did is, I mean, he's a custodian for the school, right? He's looking at this car that's parked in a school bus zone, which means no parking, and there's a car parked there. My guess is he probably took down the license plate, the make and model, and was like, if this car is still here in like, an hour, I'm calling the cops or calling a tow truck, having it taken away. So my thought process is that yes, he probably took all the information down. Then this rape occurs and he comes forward like, hey, I've got all the information for this one car. It might be nothing, but it could be something. So they do. They're able to trace the car and they trace it back to a man named Gordon Coe, who happens to be Kevin's father. Now, it is also found out that Gordon was in charge of the program that the tips about the rapists were given to at his job. So he was in charge of the people who were taking the tips of who this person could potentially be. Now, I am not saying that Gordon knew his son was a rapist, because I don't think he did. However,
but if you saw the sketch and said, that looks like my son.
That's what I've been thinking.
Not every parent out there is going to be like, I'm going to rat your ass out. Most parents are going to be like, I'm just going to fucking hide the truth.
That's what I was thinking. Because I'm like, if that's true, then he probably was one of the ones who put out the sketch. And he didn't for 1 second go, well, that kind of looks like my son a little bit. Not once. And
I'm sure it was something they talked about at the dinner table.
Right? Well, you're right about that, because you'll hear why. Now, police are able to quickly rule Gordon out as the suspect due to his age, based off of the description they got from Julie, right? Like they already know, like, you're too old, sir. However, they do find out that Gordon has a son named Kevin, and they realize that Kevin has been using Gordon's car. So they just also find out that not only has he used the car and he's a younger man, kind of matches the description, he also used to be a Las Vegas radio announcer. Kind of fits the bill, right? Because remember, Julie said that he sounded like he was a radio show like person, like somebody who was on the radio. So they end up placing a tracker on his car, and they want to follow him for a little bit to gain some stuff. They want to follow the whereabouts, and they are able to show then they are also able to show the picture of him. So now they don't have a sketch, they now have a picture of him, like in a photo lineup, and they bring it to some of the victims. And they basically show them the photo lineup, and they are able to obtain 6 positive IDs from his victims. Now, Kevin Coe is arrested on March 10th, 1981, and he is charged with 6 charges of first-degree rape. His trial begins in 1981, and they have a pretty strong case against him. And police also discover, while they're, doing their research, they find out that Kevin had received a speeding ticket in the same area that a rape had recently occurred. Like he got the speeding ticket, and there was a rape reported not too long prior to that, clearly putting him in the location. They also found that his blood type matched what had been left at some of the scenes. There had been blood kind of at the scenes, but not his blood. It's a very weird scenario. Basically, he was what's called a secretor, which means that his blood type shows up in bodily fluids. So he didn't bleed, but it showed up in bodily fluids. And this is not something that everybody has. So the fact that he was a secretor, and the fact that his blood type that they had found with the women matched his blood type. Okay, those are more things, which is pretty solid, to be honest with you. Pretty solid.
Like, that's enough. I mean.
So when Kevin was questioned about his whereabouts, right? Like, where were you during all these different times? His alibi was always one of 2, maybe 3 things. He was either dining with his parents, breakfast or lunch or dinner, every time. Oh, I couldn't have done that. I was with my mom eating lunch. I was with my parents eating dinner. And of course, they'd be like, yeah, he was with us. So that's number 1. Or he was telling them, oh, well, that time I was actually with my mom. His mother's name is Ruth. I was with my mom, Ruth, and we were actually helping y'all look for the serial rapist. So I couldn't have done it because I was helping you guys with my mom look for your serial rapist. That's what he tells them. He is convicted of 4 of the 6 rapes. At his sentencing, a psychiatrist who had been hired by the defense testified that Kevin had admitted to the 6th rape. However, this did nothing in reducing his sentence, which is what they were hoping, is that by him admitting, they would give him a reduction of his sentence, because sometimes that works out, like a plea deal type thing. He is sentenced to life plus 75 years. Okay, that's a great sentence. That's a great sentence. And he does later state that, no, he actually never really did confess to the 6th rape. But what he did was pretended to confess to the 6th rape, because he felt like what was going to happen is that it was going to make them deem him as a psychosexual, and they would put him into a psychosexual treatment facility instead of prison. So he was trying to basically get into a mental clinic of some, like what do you call them? Why the fuck am I?
An insane asylum?
Not an insane, but the prison version, right? Like the prison version of a psychiatric prison facility. So you're still a prisoner. You can't leave, but you are not in prison. You are in a psychiatric facility. He was thinking that they were going to put him somewhere like that to work on his psychosexual issues. Didn't work out. Now on November 20th, 1981, Kevin's mother, Ruth, good old Ruthie Coe, she's arrested and charged with trying to hire a hitman to kill the trial judge and the prosecutor. So that'll tell you everything you need to know about why the fuck that motherfucker didn't get caught. Because nope. Nope. That makes me second guess Gordon. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. She had offered this man $4,000 to basically kill the trial judge and the prosecutor. The man she tried to pay was an undercover cop. Now, she does plead not guilty to the charges. And she is released on bail 2 days after this, right? Now, May 17th, 1982, she goes to trial. There is a small delay in her trial for some unforeseen circumstances, but she is eventually found guilty. How much time do you think she got?
Probably like a year.
You're right.
I mean, I guess, honestly, you know, what's funny is you guys are probably going to be shocked. I actually don't disagree with that because I totally disagree with that. That's attempted murder. Nothing happened.
It's attempted murder. As a matter of fact, when you look at pretty much all the other cases of hired hitmen, they are held on attempted murder charges, which is not fucking 1 year. Not 1 year. That is much more than 1 year. And also, like
Spokane.
like they had every piece of evidence they needed. So I have no idea why she only got 1 year in prison.
Maybe there was some sort of plea deal that
I don't fucking maybe. Now, in June of 1984, the Washington State Supreme Court throws out Kevin's convictions. Throws them out. Kind of like the Murdaugh trial. Throws them out. And what they said was basically, we got to retry this because many of the 6 victims who supposedly positively ID'd him in a lineup, they were hypnotized before they went into the lineup. Because remember, none of them saw his face but one. So they do use hypnosis quite a bit in different areas, especially like in therapy. You can undergo hypnosis, and hypnosis can actually get into like your unconscious mind and fucking figure shit out. It's really crazy. So I actually don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. So what the hypnosis can do is make it to where your unconscious mind might have seen him. Your unconscious mind may have pictured him. Your unconscious mind may have seen his face, but your conscious mind cannot remember. So if you were hypnotized into it, it brings your unconscious mind to the forefront of your conscious brain. And when you come out of the hypnosis, you might actually recognize him in a picture. That's literally what happened. I believe in it 100%. I watched my dad get hypnotized, ladies and gentlemen. He'd kill me if he ever knew this. He's videotaped and everything. That motherfucker turned into Elvis.
Oh, yeah. I got videotapes of my,
oh my God, it's crazy,
roommate in college and one of our friends both thinking that I was naked and trying to fight over me.
Yeah, it's really crazy. My dad,
kind of funny.
My dad, when I was in high school, my dad got hypnotized. He got pulled on stage for we had a thing at our school, and he got on stage. And my dad is not... He doesn't want to be the center of attention, right? And we're in front of a lot of people. And he was hypnotized to the point where at one point he was Elvis. Now, my dad doesn't know Elvis songs. My mom does. My dad's a Beatles fan. So my dad, he knew every song to this. He knew every lyric to this Elvis song, and he fucking sang it. Even did like he was in a concert. And then there was there's point.
Dude, I need to see this video.
Oh my God, we need to find it. I'll have to text my brother because I'm sure it's here, and we just have to find it because it is fucking ass hilarious. But anyways, so I do believe in hypnosis because after that I was like, my God. And then what's really crazy is my dad didn't even realize the shit he did when he came out of hypnosis, right? He didn't even understand.
I even showed the video to my roommate.
They don't get it. They're
like,
no fucking way.
Dude, she was like, that fucking happened. She was shocked. She literally told me, she's like, if you would have never taken video of it, to this day would not
But
believe
it does
you.
things to you. You can do things like they can actually use hypnosis to try to help people stop food noise. Right? So if you're trying to lose weight and you're somebody who you have a lot of food noise, they've used that before.
Shit, I need that.
For reals. It's a real thing. Anyway, so that was why they threw the trial, or they threw out his convictions. So during this time, Kevin is released on bail. He is released because they threw him out. He is released on bail, awaiting a new trial. He is then retried again on only 4 counts of first-degree rape. And he does get convicted on 3 of those counts. And then he is sentenced to life plus 55 years. Now, he, of course, appeals this sentence, and this goes all the way back to the Washington Supreme Court again. Then in 1985, the fucking court overturns 2 of the convictions because, again, under hypnosis, and they uphold only one. And that was Julie Harmias. And the reason is because she did not undergo hypnosis because she saw his face. So there was no need to hypnotize her. So just her one rape is what he was convicted of. So on April 9th of 1994, so he's now back in prison living his life. There's another inmate by the name of Tim Cannon. He took a razor to his face from his neck to his lower lip, which required 100 stitches. So I don't think he had a good time in jail. Like he didn't have a good time in jail. Kevin Coe continued to maintain his innocence. He actually served his entire 25 years because that's what he got. 25 years. He fucking got 25 years, folks. Not life. I mean, I guess in Washington State, that's life, but whatever. He served his entire 25 years at Walla Walla State Penitentiary. And while he was there, he did not attend any of the counseling programs that they had offered to him. He also became eligible for parole in 1992. However, he never applied for parole. He just stayed and served his time. Now, in 1990, Washington State passes the Community Protection Act. Now, what this does is it allows the state of Washington to indefinitely keep dangerous sex offenders in prison even after their sentence is served. So if they look at you...
I actually think that's smart as fuck.
I
didn't even know we had that.
We do. So if you you got 25 years. When you're ready to leave, they reevaluate you. And if they feel that you are a danger to
Kinda
society...
like a parole thing, right?
Literally,
like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but this is only for sex offenders, dangerous sex offender. I think they should do that for murderers too. I don't know why the fuck we're not doing this. Like, you put a murderer in jail for 25 years, and if they come out being a bigger asshole, they don't get to come out. That's fine. Like, I don't understand I don't understand. Especially when you can look at their record. For Kevin Coe, he did none of the counseling sessions. That's literally all he needed to do was counseling sessions to try to help figure out what's going on. See if he's, rehabilitatable. I don't believe sex offenders are. In my personal opinion, I don't think you can rehabilitate a sex offender, but he could have tried, but he didn't try. They don't have to let them out of prison if they think that they are likely to reoffend. So what they have to do, though, is they have to be found guilty by a jury as possessing a mental defect that will make them likely to reoffend. And then if that's the case and they are found guilty, they are then sent to a special center, which in my opinion is a big fat fucking waste of time, because I personally do not think that sex offenders should have the ability to be rehabilitated or treated because they're broken. I despise sex offenders, especially violent ones, more than I despise murderers. And I don't think they can be fixed. Some murderers I think can be fixed. So prosecutors tried to apply for this for Kevin Coe. So basically prosecutors were like, hold on. He served his 25 years, but we don't want him to get out because he's a danger. He didn't do any of the counseling, which also, by the way, why does he get that fucking choice? Like, he shouldn't be allowed out. He didn't do anything in prison. He just sat there. And so they do hold a trial for him in September of 2008. Now, after the trial, it is decided that Kevin was in fact a dangerous offender and he was committed to McNeil Island. So he didn't get out of prison. He went from prison to this commitment center. Then on March 24th of 2011, Kevin had appealed and this was denied. So Kevin was found guilty, was sent to McNeil Island. And then a couple of years later, he's got a lawyer who appeals and says, hey, can he be out? He served his time. So he appeals and the appeal is denied. And while he's there at this facility, Kevin is diagnosed with mixed personality disorder with narcissistic, histrionic, and antisocial features. So he's got like an actual diagnosis that keeps him in McNeil Island, where he should be. He's a danger to society. And I know that he's got family who loves him, but he's a danger to society. If my brother was a danger to society, I wouldn't want him out on the streets. What I would want is to be able to have a place where if I want to visit him, I could visit him, but I don't want him out hurting people, period. Like, I understand that's I know a lot of families want to, rescue, but when you have somebody who has all these different issues and they are not seeking help, and even when they do get help, it doesn't seem to really change that much. They just need to stay where they're at. You're just lucky they ain't dead. He also received a score of a 25.3 on the psychopathy checklist. So he's just checking all the points as to why he shouldn't be out of prison.
Do you want to explain what that is?
The psychopathy checklist is a checklist that they run down when they are in a psychological facility. There are certain traits that they see in people that would be sociopaths and psychopaths. So a 25.3. So here's, take this information for what you will. It's out of 40. Okay, so it's out of 40. However, in the United States, if you score 30 or higher, you're clinically diagnosed as a psychopath. He did not. He scored a 25.3. However, in European countries, it's 25. So they all use the same list, but the United States gives them an extra 5 points before they're labeled as a psychopath.
And they wonder why we have so many fucking problems.
So I would not say that he's a psychopath, but I guess my point of that is he's high on the list.
In the UK, he is.
You're right. But I'm saying he's high up there. To me, you got 40 traits. It's a checklist of traits. You have 40 traits to checklist and you've got over half. No, but I'm just saying.
I'm going to give it to you.
I should take it. Oh my God, I should totally do it.
We all should.
Oh my God, what if I scored like a 40 out of 40?
I'm calling the cops.
Well, I mean, I haven't done anything. So
I know of.
But so all I'm saying is he scored high enough that it's like, oh, that's a little sus, right? Never mind the fact that he also has a personality disorder that has a bunch of other things with all the things. So when you mix that all together, it's just another reason why somebody should not be let out. Again, not asking for them to die. I'm just asking for them to not be out in public with people because they could harm them. That's all I'm asking. Now, in January of 2025, Kevin's attorney petitions for him to be released from McNeil Island at this point. His health is deteriorating. He is suffering from severe depression. He had a stroke. He also had heart disease. He has mobility issues and he uses a walker to get around. So he was unable to function. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not the most heartless person in the world. I would not have a problem if he got out at that point because he's not doing nothing to nobody. Because he's unable to, right? So if that's the time they let him out, fine. He's been in jail since fucking 1991 and he's dying, basically. That is the only time that I feel that somebody who's in jail for life would be okay. Not should, but if they were to appeal to get out of jail, I would actually be okay with it because I don't know. It's just one of those things that the reason you're keeping him in prison is because you're afraid he's going to reoffend. Well, if he gets to a point where he can no longer function properly, he's not going to reoffend. So that's kind of like your only argument to keeping him in prison, right? Or in this facility. Kevin's request is to be released to a home in Spanaway, Washington. Now, on October 2nd, 2025, a judge does order his release. So he does get released and he is initially sent to an adult home in Federal Way, Washington. Now, there was outrage in the community. People fucking flipped the fuck out and they threw such a big fit that he was forced to move to Auburn, Washington. So they basically threw such a big fit that he was moved to Auburn, Washington. But here's the thing. When he got moved to Auburn, Washington, he was met again with problems by the local Native American tribe there because he was in a home that was on Native American land. And they basically said, get the fuck out of here. We don't want you here. We want nothing to do with you. So then he has moved back to a different home in Federal Way, Washington again. Now on December 3rd of 2025, which is literally 2 months after he gets out of the facility, Kevin Coe dies of natural causes in the adult home that he was placed in. He was 78 years old when he died. Now, Spokane's prosecuting attorney, like the one that was in currently the prosecuting attorney, had this to say, and I quote, he kind of, this prosecuting attorney has a little bit of a dig. I kind of was like, I see you, sir. He said, Mr. Coe's passing was as unimpressive as his life. Despite the stain he was on humanity, I've been encouraged to see hope and healing spring from many of the lives of those he terrorized. I pray that those who endured his crimes find some level of solace in that he no longer shares the same state of existence as the rest of us. As he now faces his ultimate judge, I am hopeful we can take steps to reform the broken system that let him see freedom in the first place. I'm thankful I will never again see his name on an appeal, a petition for leniency, or a request for clemency. However, that said, he was but one of many who are daily clamoring to set loose back into the community yet again. We must stay vigilant and make sure crime victims' voices are not lost in favor of the evildoer. My heart and mind are with those survivors today. May they find peace. So he basically called him an unimpressive oof and basically used his case as we need to make sure that people like him never get out. Again, I don't think him getting out at the age of 78 years old when he's barely able to function was necessarily the worst thing in the world. I will say this. His family members, specifically his sister, when he was going through his trying to get out of McNeil Island, she wanted him to come live with her. She said that she would pay for his expenses. She would take care of him because he was ill. So again, I don't know his family. I love my family with my whole heart. But I do not love my family that much. If my brother was a serial rapist, I will visit you from afar. I will not be offering my home to you, no matter how sick you are. I will see you and visit you probably, maybe. I don't even think I would actually, to be honest. I'd probably disown you and hate your guts, but because I hate pedophiles, not pedophiles, sex offenders. But in this scenario, it was interesting to me because his mom tried to have people killed for him. His dad did end up losing his job, by the way. His dad did end up losing his job after everything was discovered, but no charges were ever pressed against him. But I do think his father had something to do with keeping his name out of the mix for as long as it did. And then obviously his sister was right there to also want to take care of him. So to me, that was interesting. It was just interesting because I just sat there and I'm like, I have a brother and I would never do that. I'm a mom. I would also never do that. I would not. If my son was Kevin Coe, well, he wasn't my son the day he got arrested, first of all. I would be disowning him and I wouldn't be helping him with shit. But even if I did want to help him, I would not be trying to hire somebody to kill people for him. So I'm just thinking he's from a prominent family that was in Spokane. Maybe there's more to this story that I just couldn't find. Because again, there's nothing out there. That's what's really crazy. When I did this research, I searched, okay, people are going to laugh, but I use the Googly because that's just one of the main sources that I use. Bitch, I got to page 10. Page fucking 10 on Google before I could have what I felt was enough information. That's how far deep on fucking Google I had to look to find information about him. There's a reason for that. I don't run into that most of the time. I research a lot and I have never had to go through 10 pages of Google to find information to be able to produce an episode. I almost did not. I almost actually said, fuck it, because it was so hard to find the information. But as soon as I realized that his father was an editor for Spokesman Chronicle, I was like, well, that's why there's no newspapers article. There's no newspaper articles hardly at all about this. That's fucking why. His dad had something to do with it. I can tell you, not with the rapes, but his dad had something to do with protecting him. His mother tried to have people killed to protect him. So it's a very interesting case. But at the end of the day, I feel justice was served because he served his time, did not get out, and served the rest of his life at McNeil Island at a facility for literal sex offenders until he was 78 years old and on his deathbed and lived for 2 months outside of prison after being arrested in 1991. That's justice to me. I'm not gonna dog on anything about it because that's justice. He could not have physically harmed anybody when he got out. Period. He couldn't have. He was a dying man. So I'm okay with it. I would not have been okay if he would have gotten out after 25 years. Because he would still have been very capable of harming people, and he would have, because he didn't do anything to try to reform himself. So that is my personal opinions, but not opinion. It is my opinions, but, so that's the story of Kevin Coe, the, South Hill rapist. So I told you this one was a little different. There was no death. Well, he dies. He dies, but there was no murders. It was something a little bit different, not too crazy. I didn't go into too much detail. I don't feel, but I just thought this was a very interesting because it's not the whole thing is very much, I'll be honest with you, Spokane-esque. I will say that it's very Spokane-esque because in Spokane there's like a few people who like run the whole city. They're wealthy individuals. They own like 90% of the city and they get to make all the decisions. And I feel like Kevin Coe's family was rubbing elbows with those people. So it was very much, I felt like it was a Spokane fitted episode. So anyways, that's where it's at. If you like the things that you hear, if you like listening to me jibber jabber and Sierra jibber jabber and us talk about things that are true crimes or spooky or unsolved, then keep following us. If you know anybody that you think would like to hear us, share us. We genuinely appreciate every single one of you because I can't say it enough. I would not continue to do this if nobody was listening. I mean, I would do it on my own. I wouldn't be sharing it with you. But clearly we have enough listeners that y'all like us because you keep coming back. And I appreciate it. And I know Sierra appreciates it. And life is grand. So other than that, I have nothing else to say but thank you so much for listening to us tell you the story about Kevin Coe, the South Hill Rapist. Until next week, catch you on the flip side, bitches.
Bye, bitches.